Hey everyone, this is Coloring Chemist. My name is Connie and welcome back to my channel. I know, different view to start off today. This is going to be a long one, so you guys tell me that you like the really long chatty videos, and you know what, I get it. I like other people's long chatty videos too. Turn them on and just color along and listen to them chat away about things, so I get it. I'm going to show you guys my water-based marker / pen. We tend to call them water-based markers here in Canada and the US, but I know you folks in the UK, you tend to call them pens. Collection. It's a lot. And I'm going to go top down in a bit, but I wanted to start out by showing you how I store some of them, just because I can't really put these stacks of markers into the top-down view. So to start out, here we have, sorry, I'm doing this on my phone. Hopefully don't make you too ill, move too quickly. Here we have my Staedtler Pigment Brush Pens and my Faber-Castell Pitt Pens. There is a combination here. Show you this side, the storage racks here. So these are the Spectrum Noir marker storage racks, and they were originally made for Spectrum Noir alcohol markers, but I use them to store all kinds of markers. The trick with storing the Staedtler pigment brush markers and the Faber-Castell Pitt pens is that you need to put something in the back of the trays, because those markers are shorter than sort of regular markers. So I just cut up it's just a sponge, like a kitchen sponge, into little cubes and tuck the little cubes in the backs of the trays. So when I go to put the markers in, they actually, it's funny, if I push one, oh, there's a pen. Oh, maybe it's these ones down here. Oh, sorry. I don't know, can you see how it kind of pops back out? It's because there's little sponges in the backs of those trays. So here we have my Faber-Castell Big Brush Pitt pens. And then sort of this middle section here is the combination 60 set Faber-Castell Pitt pens, brush pens, and the Staedtler Pigment Brush Pens. The bottom there is the ones with the colored caps. So the first sort of, 30 here. That is the Albrecht Dürer watercolor markers. Look like this. Oops, sorry, I'm not used to using my phone. So they look like that. They have two ends. They have a brush end and then it's like a larger bullet tip. And we'll look more closely at the markers once I do go top down, but I just wanted to show you my storage system here first. And then these ones are the Faber-Castell dual Pitt pens, and they have a brush end and like it's like a fine liner, but a big fine liner. You'll see. I actually have little colored stickers on the ends of these, because the ends of these caps look like that. And so when I put them in the rack, there was basically 30 black caps looking at me. And so unless I pulled the markers out, I didn't know what color was what. So I took some just Avery, I think they're 1-inch sticker labels, like you can buy big packs of them. And I colored the stickers and then stuck them onto the ends of the pens. The ink is supposed to be light fast, so it shouldn't fade. And that way I can tell which colors are which down there. You'll also notice on the ends of my Staedtler Pigment Brush Pens and my Faber-Castell Pitt pens, I have little teeny circle stickers with numbers. They have colored caps. Well, actually the Staedtler pens have colored caps. The Pitt pens have black caps, but they have a little teeny colored end on them. So, I could tell the colors, but this just gives me a better idea at a glance exactly what pen I'm looking at. So I just put the color number on the end of each pen. So there is storage for those pens. I'm going to turn. I'm going to try this slowly. This doesn't make too many people ill. I have more storage racks here. Now that whole rack is alcohol markers, except at the very top, I do have the Spectrum Noir sparkle pens, and I've had those in a few haul videos lately. It's these ones here, right? They are a brush pen. They're very similar to the Wink of Stella pens. In fact, I do have a few Wink of Stella pens right there. But these are all the Spectrum Noir. So those are water-based. But then everything from there on down, those are alcohol markers. The other water-based pens I have in racks, and again, these are all the Spectrum Noir marker racks. I have my full collection of Zig clean color pens. Right, the real brush. And I store these in there as well. I put these in with the, the tip in first, which is different than the way I store most other markers. And the reason I did it that way was because it does have little colored ends on these markers. And again, you'll see a little white circle sticker. I can put the color number on the end there, and then I can see, you know, exactly what pen I'm looking at. If I had put them the other way, I did have a fear the caps on these are clear, and I was scared that if I put them in there that way, I would have, because I'm right by a window, there would be ultraviolet light shining on the ink that's in because there's ink in the brush, right? I was afraid of mine. And I guess the top row, they're still exposed to the light there, but the rest of them at least are the ink that's in the tip won't fade, hopefully, because it's back in there, if that makes sense. And then I could see, excuse me, all the colored ends. The little white round stickers don't quite cover up the entire end, so you can still see color there. But then I also have the numbers. I'm gonna sit down here and then we can look at them. Sorry, chair noises. The lower part of this rack, I have, these are Zig dot pens, clean color dot pens. So I've got some of those in there. And then I have a small selection of some various other water-based markers, and we will look at the full collections of those once I go top down. So I have, there's a Marvy Le Plume 2, they're called. This is a random brand that we'll look at. SIPA, I think it is, SIPA. There's a few Lyra brush water-based pens in here. There are some Faber Castell Gold Faber pens in here. And there are some Zig Art Graphic Twin markers. All right. So yeah, that rack there, that's all water-based. A little bit at the top there is water-based. It's paint. And then we've got water-based markers there. So I'm gonna have the rest of the markers showing, and we'll take a look at these markers too, top down. And the rest of the markers I have are either in cases or in different storage containers, so we can look at those top down. We'll look at my swatch book, which is right there, and we'll take a look at my water-based marker collection. So like I say, this is gonna be a long one. If you don't like long videos, this one may not be for you. So, you know, feel free to skip, wait for another one, go back and watch some of my other videos. Most of them are long, but I do have some shorter ones as well. All right, so I'm gonna stop this now and then we will go top down. All right, here we are top down. So I thought I don't know that there's actually any order to how I'm gonna go through things here. But I will start with just some random little bits first, I think. Sorry if my voice fades, I'm turning way to the side here just because I'm grabbing things. So, randomly, I have these. Now, these are older. I'm going to grab paper on my printer here. Just for if I want to scribble with anything. These are water-based markers. They are made by Pentel. No, sorry, Pilot. And they are Frixion, Frixion, which is not how you spell friction, but that's the name of these markers. I don't even know if they still sell these. They're erasable markers. I also have their erasable highlighters, which are brilliant, but they're a little bullet tip. They don't have super bright color, but if I do let them dry for a bit, each of them has like a little eraser. You can erase these markers, that's pretty weird in the world of markers. I mean, there's erasable pencils, sure, erasable pens, sure, but erasable markers are pretty weird. So those were like a bullet. These are more like a fine liner, a little bit bigger fine liner, I guess. And then I do have their highlighters. Now, I know if any of you craft, particularly if any of you sew, you will probably have seen these, because what actually makes the ink erase, it doesn't technically erase, it just disappears, is heat. And so friction, right, is what causes this ink to erase. So there's the red that I put down. That's pretty weird. And it doesn't matter which erase, like you don't have to use this specific eraser for just that red ink. So you can erase marker ink, which is pretty weird. Now, do these have an application in coloring? I don't really know. I've never colored with them. I had bought them originally for my daughter when we were homeschooling. Just, I don't know. They were kind of like a novelty item. The highlighters I do use, if I'm highlighting in texts or whatever, because, I mean, for any of you that have done, highlighting when you're reading and that sort of thing, occasionally you do highlight things and you think, oh, I shouldn't have highlighted that. And it's kind of handy to be able to erase it. So that's just kind of a novelty water-based marker. How you would color with, you could color with them. But I have heard of people doing things with these markers and then leaving, say, they were writing or highlighting in a text and then leaving it in their car on a hot summer day and coming back out and the ink is all gone because heat is what makes the ink go away. So I suppose if you live in a hot climate, I don't know how handy these would be, but just kind of a little novelty thing. But there you go, water-based erasable markers. Talking about highlighters, I have these, and I bought these again a number of years ago. They are Faber Castell. They were supposed to be like metallic or glitter highlighters. So this is Shiny Silver, Brilliant Ruby, Glamorous Gold, and Pearl Rose. And I don't know how glittery or metallic. I've got a fair number of lights on here today, but I don't know. It's kind of a tricky lighting. Like, I don't see any metallic in that at all. The silver. They're also probably starting to dry up because they are older. I don't know, maybe the tiniest hint of glitter in there. I don't even know if you guys can see it. But I was quite disappointed when I originally bought them. Coloring with highlighters can be challenging because, of course, you're going to get streakiness, right? But these, the ink, I don't know, I just seem to really struggle. I couldn't get, a decent laydown on anything I tried coloring with them, but they are water-based, so I thought I'd include them. Did just recently, and this is brand new. In fact, I don't even think I've shown this in a haul yet. I don't know if this video is going to come out first or my haul video. We'll see. Either way, these are pretty brand new to me. These are the Zebra Rich, I think that's how you'd say it, water-based highlighter markers. And they are, it does say water-based pigment, so I don't know if these are pigment or dye. It says waterproof, so once they're dry, they should be waterproof. I did get these from Amazon Japan, so quite a lot of this is in Japanese. They do have some directions here in English. Ink may be difficult to remove from clothing. Do not expose to direct sunlight. Leakage may occur if used on airplane or extreme temperature. But these are also a glitter highlighter. And when they say glitter, they mean glitter. So let's get red. They do have... Oh, no, they don't. Sorry, I was thinking they had a little ball inside. I don't think it says you have to shake them. Oh, product may leak if shaken vigorously or dropped. Oops. I didn't have to prime them. They just sort of came, you know, ready. That's quite vibrant ink, though. And if there's no ink coming out, I can feel when I go to write, it's like the tip wants, there's a bit of play, a bit of give. Almost like it should be pumped, but it doesn't say it has to be. But I'm going to, hopefully you'll be able to see this. I don't know if you can see the sparkle and the glitter there. I'm going to try increasing my screen size in front of me just so I can see. Can you see the sparkle there? Hopefully you can. They are quite sparkly. I wouldn't say not like diamond stickles. It's more of a shimmer sparkle, but I mean in comparison there's basically, there was nothing here. These are quite shimmery. So there's technically 12 colors in a clear one, so you can see the different colors in there. Again, I could see them being quite streaky. I would say it doesn't strike me as pigment-based ink because the ink soaks into the paper so quickly. It does tend to leave kind of a streakiness behind. But they certainly, I think, would be fun on, you know, small areas, particularly, say, Christmas time or, you know, that sort of thing, where you're looking for maybe glittery pops in small areas. It's quite beautiful, rich ink. So yeah, Zebra Cura Rich highlighters. Be fun just for highlighting too. What are some other random little things I have here? I did get a set of 6 of the Faber Castell. These are black edition. They called them super soft brush markers. They have no identifying names or numbers on them. They are a brush tip. I don't know that I would call that brush super soft. It's kind of hard, actually. The ink is your typical dye-based ink. You know, you are going to get some streakiness. And I think you buy them in packages of 6, and I think this was called the pastel pack or something like that. They weren't very expensive. Like a lot of the Faber-Castell Black Edition stuff, you know, it's kind of their one of their lower tier products. I don't even think there were names or numbers on the packaging in terms of color names or numbers. The colors are... Who did I hear? Oh, it was Annika at Axix Fumbles. She was talking about the color palette of something and having chemically colors. That's kind of what those colors... I realize they're pastel colors, but that pink, and I don't know if it's coming through on the monitor, the camera or not, but it's a very chemically looking pink, and I thought that was a great way to describe... I don't know if you guys know what she was talking about. I think I understand. There's times when... I mean, this is a very muted, soft, grayed out pink, right? They called it, what, Pearl Rose or something like that? This is a very bubblegum, artificial looking pink. I think that's what she meant, but I thought it was a great way to describe colors. So yeah, I do have a few of those. I just have 6. That's all I have. I occasionally maybe have grabbed them to base something, but not very often. Like I say, I was just more curious than anything else. It said super soft brush. Just wondering, what that felt like, what that meant. But yeah, Faber-Castell super soft brush pens. Speaking of soft brush, these are soft brush. So you saw in the beginning intro there, I was looking at my marker rack that had the Faber-Castell Pitt pens in the rack. And these are also Faber-Castell Pitt pens, but they are soft brush. And they don't come in all colors. I don't know if I have all the colors they come in. I think I might. So the grays, and again, not all the grays, I don't think. So we've got some warm grays, some cold grays. We've got dark indigo, light indigo. There might actually have been other colors, but these were the only ones that I felt, were the ones that I might use. They have the same looking brush as the regular Pitt pen, but the flexibility of this brush is much softer. If you can see that. I mean, I'm putting very little pressure down, and you're sort of getting nice teardrops, whereas this is dark indigo. Here's the dark indigo regular Pitt pen. I can't really, there's not that much flexibility in the brush. Now, I don't know if you can see that. We can maybe come in a bit. So this is the regular Pitt pen. I mean, you can force it to bend a little bit. There's a soft brush Pitt pen. Much more flex. Probably meant for calligraphy, writing, that sort of thing, but I just thought it would be interesting to have as a coloring tool. It is harder to control, right? Softer brushes are going to be harder to control. Look at that ink flow, though. Oh my goodness. Beautiful. So these are, they just say Faber-Castell Pitt Artist Pen, and then it says SB as opposed to just B. So soft brush and brush. My favorite all-time Pitt pen color, light indigo 220, soft brush. The soft brush makes it a little easier to avoid streaks, so that if that's something and this is terrible, this is just copy paper. But if that's something you're concerned about, the soft brush pens, like I say, they don't come in all the colors, but they do come in kind of some of these neutral colors. So I have a small collection of those. Worm gray 1, also one of my favorite colors. What other little random bits do I have here? I have exactly one of these. So this is a Careen Brush Marker Pro. I do have a few more of the, what do they call them? The pigment ones. And we'll look at those in a little bit. But this is just the straight up watercolor pen. So, yeah, no ball on these ones. It does have that free ink technology that we're seeing all over the place nowadays. The reason I bought this, and actually the reason I bought that little small set of the soft brush, the black edition of Faber-Castell, I've been looking for a pale pink pen, marker, watercolor, water-based, but not a peachy pink, like a sort of a neutral pink. So I had bought this, I had bought these. I mean, that's very corally, even though it's called pale pink. Even this leans kind of peachy colored. You'll see in a little bit here the marker that I'm trying to duplicate, basically, because it's fantastic basing marker for when you want like a neutral pink. So I purchased this open stock because you can buy these open stock. Is it a good pen? Absolutely. It's just not the color that I was hoping for. because I live in a rural area, middle of nowhere, I don't often get the chance to buy my art supplies in a store where I can look at them first. I just kind of have to order and cross my fingers. And it just didn't seem worth it to me to send back one pen because it was the wrong color. It was my fault. I should have chosen better. So I will use this somewhere. But that's the only Brush Marker Pro that I have. I also bought these in my hunt, my search for a pale pink, neutral pink, water-based brush marker. So we saw one of these earlier. Where'd it go? There it is. It was in the rack off to the side there. I'm not sure if these are actually still made or if I got an older set, because if I remember correctly, one or two of these was dried out when they came. So these are the Marvy Le Plume 2 from Japan. They have a brush end like that, and then really teeny tiny fine liner end like that. This is quite pale. The brush is quite stiff. Still leans a little peach for my taste, but it was as close as I could get to the one that I was trying to replace. I don't think you can buy these open stock anymore. Maybe, I don't know if you could. They do have color names and numbers on them. And I just saw this set on Amazon for a fairly good price. What was it called? It was called the Pastel set or something like that. And there are some nice colors in here. There's a nice yellowy green there. It's called yellow green. So, I mean, they're nice colors. The fine liner end is quite fine, quite tiny. So, you know, have I grabbed them every now and again to base something? I have. This one, like I say, closest I've gotten yet to the pink color that I've been searching for. But I don't know if these are still available. So I mean, you can try searching for them. Like I say, Marvy Uchida, I think is the Japanese company. And they are Le Plume, L-E-P-L-U-M-E, 2 pens. Now, we've been sort of looking at things here. Do I have, this is my swatch book extraordinaire. Trying to remember if I have all these things swatched out in here. Oh, I do, hopefully. So there are all those Zebra Cure Rich highlighters, the glittery ones. There's all the colors. I don't know if you can see the shine on those or not. If we're seeing any kind of shimmer there. I think you can see a little bit of a shimmer. So there's certainly some fluorescent highlighter colors in there, but there's also some really nice colors. That number 9 is beautiful. 8. The greens are nice. The clear is actually, that's silver and that's clear. The silver isn't very silver, but the clear would be lovely to go over top of things. There they are. So there's 12 Marvy Le Plume colors. The pale blue was virtually dry. The wisteria, again, virtually dry. The light cool gray, virtually dry. I tried contacting on Amazon. I can't remember if I got a refund or not. I probably did. But like I say, the blush pink, nice color. Coral pink. So it's, yeah, it was like a pastel set. There's that Karine Brush Marker Pro. Here is the very first set of water-based brush markers that I bought. Other than, you know, since my daughter was young, we always had Crayola Super Tips and that sort of thing. So I mean, I had those. But this was the very first set of water-based brush markers that I got when I sort of started adult coloring again. And I know you can't get these anymore because it's this 22 that I've been trying to replicate. And the blush print is pretty close. It's these ones. Now, I know there's a glare there. Sipa? I don't know how to say that. They're not even available on Amazon anymore. But they were the first ones that I purchased. And they had a really lovely color range. There's definitely some very bright, sort of artificial looking colors, but they had some lovely, that 17, I remember using that a ton in my coloring. The 16 is pretty. There was some nice, that number 4 blue is lovely. And yeah, this is what they look like. Made myself a little swatch to stick in here. It's all, excuse me. I'm not sure if that's Japanese or Chinese writing. They did have color numbers on them. Maybe there's a name on there too. I don't know. But they did have, it's still a fiber brush. And then like a bullet tip on the other end. But yeah, I loved, and I've had these for a lot of years. They still work. So whoever was manufacturing them, just says SIPA.HK, so that's Hong Kong, right? They did a good job. So I put little stickers on the ends with the color numbers there, just so I could quickly identify them. That missing one right there, that's the pink that I've got on my, and I just keep that out because of all of these, that's the one I'm going to grab the most. There was a colorless blender, but it came dried out, weirdly. The markers have lasted fine, but the colorless blender, weirdly, was dried out. But yeah, it's kind of a, I don't know, almost like a nostalgia thing for me, because these were the first ones that I bought. I didn't know, I hadn't found very many YouTube channels yet, and didn't really know what I was looking for. And these were on Amazon, and they looked fun. So, yeah. And the pink is here. So it's 22. So this is the pink, because it is starting to run out, that I was trying to replace. And just, I got the Korean, which obviously is not, that wasn't right. I don't know if I have a swatch of those Faber-Castell. I might. Like I say, this is a very long, rambly video, folks. For those of you, yeah, they're right there. So that pink wasn't right either. I think the Marvie Le Plume pink is probably a good. This is still a bit paler. It's just a really lovely pink. You can barely even see it when it goes down. But it's so pale and so lovely. And it's not drying out. This is still, well, I mean, it's starting to a bit. But it's still it's not that pale because it's dry. It's just that pale, which is lovely for basing. So, Sipa, not sure how you pronounce it. What else have I got that's kind of, random. I know there's a set of 48, but I only have these 6 grays. These are the Sakura Koi watercolor brush pens. And so we've got, they look like this. They're just single-ended. They do have color numbers and names on them. This is a light warm gray. And all of these watercolor brush pens, you notice I'm using them, holding it way back here. I'm not, coloring like that. If you're going to color with a brush pen, there's really no point. I mean, unless you're trying to do just tiny fine details somewhere. But to push down and then scrub, you're far better off to get a Crayola Super Tip, right? Because by coloring that way, you're kind of destroying the point on the brush. So, sideways, you're kind of coloring with the side of the brush. So the Koi coloring brush pen, I think there are 3 warm grays and 3 cool grays in here. I think these are cool grays over here. Light cool gray. I think there's a light, medium, and a dark of each. I just wanted to try them, and I know I'm quite often looking for grays. There's a little swatch in the back there. Like I say, there's a set of 48. Do I feel the need? No. Have I sometimes thought about it? Yes. Because I do have an extensive collection of water-based markers. I love water-based markers. Particularly my Pitt pens and my Staedtler pens. But I do also like, these kind of dye-based inks as opposed to the pigment-based inks. But yeah, so there you go. Koi, Sakura, 6 gray colors. And they actually were right there too. So just some kind of fun little random things before we get into the bigger sets. Talking about Crayola Super Tips, which, do I still have any? I might. I didn't pull them out for this video. I guess I could have. I don't have a full set. I have a random leftover set of whatever didn't dry up since my daughter was young, but I don't. I don't have a full set of Crayola Super Tips. But I do have a 72 set of the Staedtler double-ended, or do they call them water-based markers? I think they just call them double-ended. So these remind me of Crayola Super Tips because they have that, not that Crayola markers are double-ended, they do have like a little bullet end, but they also have that kind of triangular, I don't know, it's large bullet end that Crayola Super Tips have. So these reminded me of Crayola Super Tips. And so, you can color with that end. It's sort of shaped like a brush, but it's not soft like a brush. So, I mean, if you want to, you would probably eventually flatten that little tip. Again, you sort of want to be coloring on the side of that. So they have that end, and then they have this smaller kind of bullet tip. These are not numbered or named. I believe they actually come in a bigger set than this. So this is a 72 set, and I think they come in as big as 120 markers, if I remember correctly. I put them in my own color order and then just wrote numbers on them with a Sharpie. So these numbers that are up here, that's not numbers I got from anywhere else. That's just me numbering them 1 to 72. And then I swatch them. They're a lovely marker. Water-based pens that are not brush-tipped are always going to be streakier unless you use them. And again, this is a collection video. It's not so much about, how I would use these markers. Lots of other folks have done great videos, talking about how they would use their water-based markers. You can put them on a palette. You can pick them up with a water brush. I've been playing around a lot lately with pre-preparing pages with different mediums and then blending the water-based inks on the page, either with a water brush or colorless blender. You get less streakiness that way as well. These, if you're just going to color straight on, let's say, Create Space paper, like Amazon print books, yeah, you're absolutely going to get streakiness. Brush markers, you're going to get a little bit less streakiness, but it's still going to be there. So if you're not worried about that, then that's great. There is a silver and gold in this set. They even make the bodies look a little bit sparkly, but I can't see any. That's these two here. To me, it just looks like a cold gray and a warm gray. I can't see any sparkle at all. I don't see any difference between that ink and any of the other inks, so I don't think they're actual metallics. But yeah, I mean, these are a water-based marker. They're fun to color with. Like I say, fairly similar to Crayola. It's strange. If you try and find Crayola on, let's say, Amazon Canada. Sorry, little zipper ASMR there. Crayola on Amazon Canada is not that common. Not that I've found. Amazon US, sure. But then I would have to pay, excuse me, extra shipping and all that kind of stuff. But to order just Crayola off of Amazon Canada, it's not like in the States, and I know you folks in Europe too, getting a hold of Crayola is not that easy actually. So in some ways, you know, buying something like these Staedtler double-ended markers is a little bit easier for me than just buying Crayola. They're a little bit more expensive than Crayola, but because again, I live in the middle of nowhere, there's not really much of there's not really, we do have a Walmart, but it's not a big Walmart, and it doesn't have a lot of that kind of, you know, whether it be art supplies or that sort of thing. It's kind of very minimal. So there's not really any place for me locally to buy Crayola. So trying to buy it on Amazon Canada doesn't really work. So yeah, I don't have a lot of Crayola products. They're just not that easy for me to get a hold of. It's easier for me, weirdly, to get a hold of Staedtler products. So we've got that. Talking about metallics, there is a little baggie of some more. Sorry, we're jumping around a bit here, but like I say, it's just a collection video. It's just more to listen to me yammer away, I guess. These are some more Faber-Castell Pitt pens. In this little bag, I have some, so the other little elastic together here, this one that I was talking about before, these are the Pitt Pen Soft Brush. These are some Pitt Pen, oh, these must be Soft Brush Extras. Yep. So I actually have a couple extra of the warm gray, the light indigo, because I love those colors. So those are extras for those. But I also have some Pitt Pen fine liners. Now, I think these are extra because I think there's some Pitt Pen fine liners in a case. So we will look at those when I pull out that case in a minute. But Faber-Castell has Pitt Pen metallic markers. And they come in sort of two different, I don't know if they're different lines within the company. These ones were specifically made for crafters. So they don't say Pitt Pen on them. All they say is Faber-Castell metallics. And it was a set of 6. So we've got Heart of Gold, Nothing Else Metals, instead of Matters, Copper Cabana, Ice Blue, Berry Nice, and Wanderlust, which is green. And like all metallic markers, or like the vast majority of metallic markers, are these super metallic? Not really. There's the Wanderlust. They have like a bullet tip on them. I think you can still get these. Yeah, it shines a little bit. I mean, it's not bad. I've seen worse. Here's the copper. I don't think the copper's, I think, less shiny. The green actually is not bad. But yeah, so we've got some metallic water-based pens here that actually are metallic. Like I say, not bad. I've seen worse. So they're Faber-Castell. They were made for crafters. So just put them in the bag here before I forget where they go. But they also made Faber-Castell Pitt Pens, metallics. Sorry, some more zipper AMR there. In the actual Pitt Pen line. So there's more. I've got my Faber-Castell Gold Faber pencils in here. There's my Pitt Pastel pencils. Very end here, I just have a few Faber-Castell Pitt pens. So here's gold, silver, copper, ruby metallic, blue metallic, and green metallic. And these actually do say, the green one here, it's white writing on a metallic barrel. It's very hard to read. But they actually do say Pitt Artist Pen. They have a color fast, the star system there, green metallic, India ink, maximum light fastness. I don't know if this ink is any different than the ink that was in the ones made for the crafting market. To me, it looks like the same bullet tip. Crafter one actually looks shinier. I don't know. I was just curious. I mean, I love Pitt pens, and so I guess I wanted whatever they had. But yeah, I don't. So here's the gold, the one that says, you know, Pitt pen. There's the gold. There's the heart of gold. You can see the pens are, I don't know, more or less the same size. They're just sort of slightly different design on the outside. I think, I mean, the nibs look the same. In terms of the ink, that was the Pitt pen, and that's the one made for crafters. I think the crafter one is actually shinier. It seems to be, I don't know. So I would probably, if you want to buy these Faber Castell metallic pens, I would probably go for the set that was meant for crafters. It seems to be, the ink seems to be shinier. It's probably cheaper. I think I got these open stock through, I think it was an online art store here in Canada. Kind of a waste of money. Yeah, I guess so. These are the few colors that I have in the Pitt pens in the Superfine, I think they call it, or 0.3 nib. So these are basically Pitt pen fine liners. Can you see that? I mean, they're beautiful. It's the same Pitt pen ink. The ink color should match. So this is Cobalt Green 156. There's Cobalt Green 156 Pitt pen. The color, this looks lighter because it's just more spread out, but if I took this and, you know, colored like that, it's the same color ink. So if you wanted to, you know, get into really, really small spaces, you could use these. They don't come in all the colors of the Pitt pens though. Not actually sure if I have all the colors they come in, or if these just were the ones that I happen to find. Yeah, I mean, it's not even really, the red I might use. There's a May green, there's a black, which is great, because it's light fast, it's waterproof once it's dry, so that would be a handy one to have. But the others were just kind of random colors, I think, that I saw and picked up. So, there you go. That's another look at some Pitt pens. While we are discussing Pitt pens, I might as well pull some Pitt pens from the rack in front of me here. So we saw the storage that I have at the beginning of the video. These, of course, are the lovely Faber Castell Pitt Artist Pen brush tip. This is Terracotta 186. Got our tip. I did a video not too long ago where I showed you how you can pull that tip out and flip it around. So if your tip is getting a little bit frayed, you can pull it out, flip it around, push it back in. There's another brush end on the other end. And as long as you haven't run out of ink, it's like you've got a brand new pen. These are, the colorant in these is pigment. The colorant in the vast majority of water-based markers is dye. The only water-based markers that I know of that have a pigment in them instead of a dye as the colorant, they're all water-based, right? None of them are alcohol-based. But the colorant, the thing that's providing the color, can be a dye or it can be a pigment. Pigment particles are a little bit bigger than dye particles, and so pigment particles tend to sit on the surface of whatever it is you're coloring on, whereas dye particles will soak right in with whatever carrier liquid they're in. So Faber-Castell Pitt pens have pigment ink. and the Staedtler Pigment Brush Pens have pigment ink. There may be others. I think Pantone has some. I took a look at those, but they just didn't work for me. Maybe some specialty, like the Pigma-Micron, right? That's pigment ink. But in terms of coloring, with having like a large selection of colors, the Staedtler Pigment Brush Pens and the Faber-Castell Pitt Pens. That's going to be your two big ones. Everything else that I'm showing you all has dye-based inks. But yeah, my beloved Pitt Pens. I know I don't do a lot of coloring with them on camera. I should do more. I mean, the colors are just so rich and vibrant. Staedtler, same thing. You can't really blend on this paper because it's just copier paper, but yeah. I might come back to those in a bit. Talking about... Oh, hang on one sec. I'm going to pause. I'll be right back. Since we were talking about Pitt pens, I have a little small set of the calligraphy tips. So, again, these are light fast, pigment-based ink, still water-based ink. But instead of the brush tip, or you saw I had a few of those super fine or fine liner tips, these have that squared off, you see that? Calligraphy tip. And this is a lovely, isn't this an adorable case? My daughter got this for me for Christmas one year. She got it at a little shop in the city where she lives. It looks handmade to me. That doesn't look like a factory made thing. So I don't know, but I think it's adorable. It looks, yeah. So just this small set of 6 colors. I kept the lettering guide that came with it because one day I used to know how to do this. I don't think I do anymore. I bet I don't. Oh, no, I'm combining cursive writing and calligraphy. Not bad. Yeah, once upon a time I used to know how to do that. And I'd like to get back into it. And I thought, well, you know what better way to do it than to have a little set of Pitt pens, which I love, in the calligraphy tips, and maybe one day I'll start practicing my calligraphy writing again. But yeah, I think you can get other colors. Again, I don't think you can get all 60 colors in the calligraphy tip. In fact, I don't think it tells me. No, this was just a little guide. It talked about the angle, some little practice. Look, you can make a checkerboard with these. Simple italic alphabet. And then you've got just the simple alphabet. So what was I doing? Was I doing italics? I don't think I was doing either. No, I think I was doing italics. I think that must have been what I learned. Yeah. But, again, more Pitt pens. We can take a look at the, or we can do it right now. Why not? So, calligraphy Pitt pens in my adorable little case for my daughter. I had shown you, again, at the beginning of sorry, this video is all over the place, isn't it? It's just sort of me having fun looking at my water-based markers and bringing you along for the ride, more or less. So, hopefully you're enjoying it. You're coloring something, having a snack, doing something else. So, we talked about the 60 Faber-Castell, just the normal, regular old Pitt pens, right? Brush tip. And then I've got a couple colors in the superfine fine liners. I've got a couple colors in the soft brush. There was some metallics over here. So the first column here, that's Pitt pen colors. So these ones here. So there's 60 colors plus white plus 6 metallics. Now, I will say one of these colors is not made anymore. And it is, and it's very sad, this one here, Deep Red 223. It used to be when you bought the 60 set of Pitt pens, you wouldn't get a white. So, of course, the white is, where is my white Pitt pen? There it is. You wouldn't get a white. You would get 60 colors, and this was included, this 223 Deep Red. Now when you buy a 60 set of Pitt pens, you don't get this, you get a white instead. Which, the white is super duper handy. And if anyone has an older set of Pitt pens, or if they have a smaller set of Pitt pens, or just even no Pitt pens, and they wanted, one Pitt pen to buy, this would be the Pitt pen to rule them all. Because you can do highlights, because it's pigment-based, it's white ink, but you can go on top of, where's the page that I had before? You can go on top, wrong one, of other ink, right? And you can put highlights on top of colored ink. Now, it's not going to be highlights like you would with a white gel pen. It's much softer highlights. And sometimes the color does come through this, from the color that's underneath. But I will often do that kind of thing. If I just want soft highlights, I end up with white ink on my fingers all the time. But to lighten an area, oh, this is a fantastic pen. So, yeah, what you don't get anymore is this 223 dark red, which is really unfortunate because it's a really, really beautiful kind of neutral red. It's right there, 223 Deep Red. You've got this Deep Scarlet Red and Geranium Lake, which lean kind of orangey. And then you've got Pink Carmine, and then you've got some others, Magenta, they lean more purpley. But that 223 Deep Red, and it doesn't, you can't get it anymore. So, yeah, I don't know why they discontinued it, but they did. It was kind of a fugitive color. It only has 2 stars for their Lightfast ratings, so maybe that was it. Maybe artists using these Pitt pens were disappointed because the Deep Red faded. I don't know. So technically, I have 61 colors and 6 metallics. Unless you have an older set, though, you're not going to have that deep red. So there are 60 colors and then 6 metallics. The big brush Pitt pens that I have are in the second column here. There are some that I'm missing. They are no longer made. They haven't been made forever. I would love someday to get those missing colors, but I doubt that I will. The third column is the dual Pitt Artist pen. Faber Castell made the big brush Pitt pens for crafters. They still had Lightfast ratings on them. They had color names and numbers. They weren't double-ended. They had a great big brush tip. And it's still the same beautiful pigment ink. I don't know why they discontinued these. That makes me sad. But they replaced them with these. I don't like these as well. It's the same beautiful ink. But these tips are really difficult to blend with. I don't know why. In fact, the ink itself seems harder to blend. And I don't know if the ink is slightly, the formulation is slightly different in these, the dual Pitt. I don't know. But I've tried to use these to blend them on paper like I do with the normal, smaller Pitt pens. And I can't get them to blend. I can get these to blend, but not these. So I don't know if there's a change in the formulation of ink, but there's only 30 colors of these, and they have this odd, it's like a fine liner, but big. All right. Yeah, I don't know. for the kind of coloring that I'm doing, I mean, I love Faber-Castell. I love their Pitt line. So I bought these. Would I suggest other people buying these? No, I don't think I would. Not for a colorist. If you're an artist and you've got a specific kind of sort of graphic art that you're doing and you know this is what you want, yeah, for sure. But they are expensive. And there's only 30 colors. And like I say, I can't get them to function the same way that I can get these and these to blend on paper. So I don't know. I don't know what's different in those. But something is different. So yeah, there's the Pitt pens, the big brush, the dual. There's grayed out areas because I was just sort of combining all of these into one chart. So, you know, the white, for example, comes in a small brush like this. It also comes in a small, where is it? Bullet, like that. So it looks similar to the metallics tip. This one's okay. It's, again, for all of those really soft highlights, you know, I'm using this all the time. This would be cool for, you know, you could dot it kind of thing, but it's the same ink in both of these. There's also a big brush white, and I believe this is the only, this and the black are the only big brush Pitt pens you can still buy. The white has this giant bullet tip, and the black is a giant brush. And I think these are the only two big brush Pitt pens you can still buy. And then, yeah. So the white doesn't come in the dual Pitt pen. And the last column here is the Albrecht Dürer watercolor markers. And there's no white in that either. These look very similar to the dual Pitt pens, right? Body-wise and everything else. They have that same kind of larger brush and that same... Oh no, these were slightly different. Instead of that kind of large fine liner nib, these have an actual bullet nib. The ink in these is not... It says pigmented ink, but I don't know that that means the same as India ink, which is what's in Pitt pens, right? This is India ink. So this is the colorant in here is pigment. I don't think the colorant in these is pigment. I think it's dye, which means that it's going to soak into the page right away. I can't really get these to blend on paper like I do with the Pitt pens, but that's not what they're meant for. So that's not a fault of these markers. That's just not what they're meant for. They have 30 of these. They are pretty expensive. Would I get them for, would I suggest most colorists get them? No. There's really no point. Again, I have a Faber-Castell problem. So yeah, I have them, but would I suggest you run out and buy them? No, they're very expensive. Yeah, there's no point. But they are part of my collection, so there you go. So yeah, 30 colors of those. You can see the color matching across Faber-Castell's lines, though, particularly their artist grade products. So here we've got 109 dark chrome yellow in a Pitt pen, in a big brush Pitt pen, in a dual-ended Pitt pen, and in the Albrecht Dürer watercolor marker. I mean, that's virtually the same color, right? And I mean, that takes... You're not going to find that in budget supplies. You just don't. Yeah. So there's a little bit about my Faber-Castell addiction problem. But yeah, I just think their artist grade stuff is fantastic. I mean, I have the polychromos. They're my favorite pencil. I love the fact that they color match with the Pitt pens. I mean, there's just all kinds of wonderfulness there. What else do I have to show you? Talking about color matching. Actually, I'm going to pause again. Hold on, I'll be right back. Actually, I grabbed something, but now I changed my mind and we'll come back to my thought that I was having there in a little bit. Just one last thing on pigment-based colorants. So I did mention previously, there are other markers out there, marker pens, that have pigment-based ink in them, other than, you know, the Pitt pens and the Staedtler Pigment Brush Pens. We've got the Sakura Micron pens. So this is, you know, you can get whole sets where you've got different sizes. So here we've got an 05. This is an 01. That one is a brush. This one says 2. This one is the fine, or the plastic PN or P, whatever it's called, nib. So all of these also have pigment ink. So the colorant in these is a pigment. I do think, if I remember correctly, the brush ones, most of these you would get in black. I do have a gray here. This is a gray 05. Just because sometimes if I'm fixing up line work, and I don't know if you guys have noticed that too, say you've accidentally colored over line work in a coloring book and you actually want to bring it back, sometimes the black is too dark and you put it in and then it just stands out like a sore thumb. So I grabbed a gray open stock when I was placing a marker order once, and it's really nice for putting line work back in that isn't too dark, right? Because lots of times the line work in our coloring books isn't, you know, black. Is that a black? I think that's a black. Oh, that's a calligraphy tip. Oh, it's drying out too. But yeah, lots of times the black pigment ink can be quite black, and it's too black. So getting a gray one isn't a bad idea. I also somewhere have a sepia. Oh, that's an 01. That's really teeny. But that can be really good for putting line work back in as well. So most of these pigment liner pens, and these are all Sakura. I do have a set of Marvy Le Pen ones too that I got. I think these are sold in Walmart. This is a 003. This is so fine. It's like drawing with a hair. Most of them are black, brown, or black sepia gray. But you can get a set of the pigment or Pigma brush pens from Sakura. I think there's 10 colors or 8 colors. This one happens to be a sepia, but it's a very soft. You could color with it. I think I got this one because I bought a set of the sepia ones. So it was like 8 different nib sizes, and this happened to be one of them, I think. But I think you can buy, yeah, it's like 8 or 10 colors. They're very basic colors. You know, you've got red, green, orange, yellow. I don't have those. I didn't really see any need to get them because if I'm going to color with pigment-based inks, I've got my Pitt pens and my Staedtler pens, right? So, but these also do, the colorant in these is a pigment. It's not a dye. So, just wanted to put that out there as well. You know, we didn't take, well, we sort of did. I mean, I'll take another quick look. Again, pigment colorants. The Staedtler Pigment Brush Pens. I've talked about these so much. I have the full set of 60 of these. They have, you know, that tip that looks like a Pitt pen. They look slightly different than Pitt pens, right? Pitt pens have the black cap and then a colored barrel. These all have like a gray barrel and their caps are colored. I put those little stickers on the ends, right? Because they're all sitting in my rack in front of me, and this allows me to see the color number at a glance. So we've got the, you know, all the Pitt pen colors there. And I've got the Staedtler colors. There. Lovely colors. Lovely colors along with the Pitt colors. I've got the Pitt pens and the Staedtler pens combined here. So there's your 120 colors all together of the Pitt pens and the Staedtler Pigment Brush Pens. I mean, fabulous color range. is there any colors that I think are missing a really, really light, neutral, non-peachy pink, which is why I was, trying to find it in the other pens that I had there, the other water-based pens. We've got this 114, but that's definitely peachy. You've got peachier pinks over here. That 21S still leans peach, and it's not super light. So, yeah. Other than that, it's a pretty solid color range, combining those two sets of pens. Beautiful, rich, dense colors that lay down quickly. I have some hand issues, and I can color with these. Unlike pencils, I can get a lot of pigment payout fast, so it's easier on my hands. Yeah, love them. But there's the Staedtler pens, the full set of 60. You can now buy them on Amazon US, I think, the 60 set. Not in Amazon Canada yet, but hopefully soon. You've been able to buy them in Amazon Germany, UK, and probably other European Amazons as well for a while. Where should I go to now? Okay, now I'm going to go to, because I said speaking of color matching earlier, now I'm going to go to that. So, Faber-Castell has color matching across their artist line. So May Green 170 is the same color, no matter where you look. In Albrecht Dürer and Polychromos, in the Pitt pens, in their pastel pencils. May Green 170 is May Green 170. Staedtler, to some extent, also has some color matching. So these were charts that I made before. Where I had I may not even have put the don't think I did, because I think when I made this chart they didn't exist. I'm just looking here. No, I don't think I included the pigment pens. But this is just to show you, Staedtler sort of kind of has color matching. So color number 20, which I think is, if I remember correctly, it's like a pink color. Maybe they don't have it in the, let's say 21. 21 is light rosé in their pigment pens. So, if I look at, these are the fine liners, these are the dual-ended markers, and the Kuretake watercolor pencils. So you can see, going across, there is some color matching within the Staedtler line. Number 2 is red in Staedtler, and so, you've got red. But it's not like the Faber-Castell color matching across their artist line. And these color numbers do not match the Faber-Castell. Number 2 in Faber-Castell, I don't think Faber-Castell has a 2, but it's certainly not red, right? There is, however, a company, strangely enough, that sort of uses the same color numbering system as Faber-Castell, with a slight difference. And they also make, at least 2 different water-based markers. And that is Lyra. So Lyra is also a German company, although now I think it's owned by an Italian subsidiary, something. An Italian company got in there somehow. But I believe Lyra was originally a German company, as is Faber-Castell. And I noticed this when I bought, I think the first Lyra product that I bought was their pencils. Their Rembrandt Polycolor pencils. And I started to look at the numbers on the pencils. And so, we had, they called it had a whole bunch of numbers in the pencil, but basically it ended in 07, and they called it lemon. And I thought, wait a minute, 107 in Faber-Castell is cadmium yellow. It's not called lemon, but it's a yellow. 18 they called Scarlet Lake. Well, 118 in Faber-Castell is Scarlet Red. So I started to think, hang on. There seems to be, 170, my absolute favorite green color in Faber-Castell, May Green. 70, Lyra called Apple Green. But I'm looking at that and I'm thinking, I know May Green. I know what May Green looks like. And that's pretty close to May Green. So I did a comparison between Faber-Castell and Lyra. And going across, so Faber-Castell is here and Lyra is here. And so, we've got Faber-Castell 113, which is their orange glaze in all their different products. Some are slightly different, right? That's their watercolor paints. It's not so great. And then 13 in Lyra, in their markers and pencils, is still more or less the same color. Didn't work for quite... There was a few oddball colors, like here. But for the most part, Faber-Castell and Lyra had this strange color matching thing going on. And so I do have running out of room to my left-hand side here, a set of, well, two sets actually, of Lyra watercolor markers. These are called the Lyra art markers? Is that what they're called? Art pens. And they come in 50 colors. They are pretty typical standard watercolor or water-based, dye-based ink pens. I don't think they are super pricey, but there was the chart. Oh, sorry, you can't see it. There was the chart that came on the packaging, so I just cut it off and taped it in there. And then I made myself a color chart in addition to the one that's in my swatch book. They do have some neons, which is different. I'm not sure I have any other... I'm trying to think if I have other water-based markers that have neons. The Zig Clean color pens do. Any of the others? The Pitt pens don't. But yeah, there's some neons. There's two metallics in here, which are sort of kind of metallic. There's a little shine there. But yeah, so these are Lyra art pens. They do have color numbers on them, but no names. So this is 37, which is there. They have a big bullet tip, like that. That's it. They're not dual-ended or anything else. I don't think that these are, a super top quality product from Lyra, but they seem to follow, the color matching that they have across their other lines. You've got two layers there. Here is the 70, which they call apple green. Actually, in here, they don't call it apple green. They call it yellow style de grain. They call it apple green in their polycolor, but they call it yellow style de grain. But it's definitely, it's right there. I mean, that's May. It's not exactly May green. It's a little yellower, but it's pretty close. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Caps peg. You've got your different trays there. I mean, they color out like, kind of any other felt tip water-based marker. Again, for a while I was on a huge water-based marker kick, so I have a lot. That's why I thought I would show them to you. Plus, like I say, I enjoy really long, chatty videos, and you guys seem to like them from me too. You could put it on and just be working on something else. But yeah, so this is one Lyra water-based marker that I have. Would I suggest getting these if you're only going to get one Lyra water-based marker? No, I would go with their brush markers instead. So let's put this off to the side. And grab. Sorry, try not to have an avalanche here. This case. Ooh, do you love the plastic? Is it alligator skin fake? The reason I bought this, it's not normally my kind of style. If it's your style, that is totally okay. My style is more plaid flannel. This is a case that's meant to have pens in it, though, as opposed to pencils. So the loops are a little bit bigger. So that's why I bought this. So here are the Lyra Aqua Brush Duo markers. And if I was going to, if you wanted, you don't need any of these, but if I was going to suggest a Lyra water-based marker, it would be these ones. So, you know, we've got colors. Now, these are not all the colors, because if you remember way back to the beginning of the video, I did actually have some colors on that rack to my left. And the colors I have in my rack to the left are just colors in this particular line of marker that I would use more often than the others. The rest of the colors are in here. There is a total of 72, I think. Sorry. 80 colors. So there you've got the colors. Fairly nice selection of colors, I think. Not pigment, dye again, but this is the yellow Staedtler Pigment 70, which is, that's the May green from the Polychromos, or the Pitt pens, or fairly close. Right? That's the Pitt pen May green. That's the yellow Staedtler Pigment Lyra. But it's pretty close. But yeah, these are the Lyra water-based markers that I would suggest. They have some really lovely colors. This is 68 Chrome Green. They do have two ends. So they've got that brush end, and then they've got just like a bullet end. I rarely ever use the bullet end. If I'm going to color, it's going to be with the brush end. But yeah, so there's the 80 colors. Some nice grays. I mean, I think what truly drew me to these pens, I mean, other than the fact that I was going through a whole, this collection has been bought over, I would say, at least 5 years. So this isn't something that I purchased, all at once. But what really drew me to these, other than the fact that I was going through a whole I love water-based markers phase, which I'm still in, is these greens right here. Yeah, we have some of the, like the primary kind of greens. But lots of times you'll get water-based markers and all of their greens are that very primary, not desaturated, not grayed out, not olivey greens, which I don't tend to have much use for. I just don't use them. But these greens I would use, right? You've got that 68, 70, 71, 72, 73, 74. Those are beautiful greens. And 6 out of 80 colors, I mean, that's a pretty high percentage of those beautiful earthy olivey greens in just an 80 set. So I think that's probably what drew me to this set, you know, if nothing else. I think there's some really lovely colors here. Other, you know, in other color families as well. But yeah, those earthy greens really drew me in. And if we look at, so there's other colors there. Put this off to the side for a second, without having an avalanche. So this was my Faber Castell Lyra comparison chart. But here's just my Lyra comparison chart. So again, the duo markers are this first column, and then the art pens are the second column. Those were the ones that were in that metal tin. Not bad color matching across. I mean, it's not as good as Faber Castell, but these are less expensive than Faber Castell as well. There's 70. These other columns, this Aqua column, that's their aquarelle pencils. The polycolor pencils are there. And then this middle column here, that is their water-soluble crayons, which are very much like Neocolor 2s. Less colors. I think the biggest set of their crayons is 48, but some really lovely colors in their crayons as well. But since we're just talking about the water-based markers today, but yeah, neon colors, which again, Faber-Castell, I don't think there's any neons, unless there's neons out there that I just don't. You know, they're constantly coming out with new stuff, and they might actually be coming out with some new. They really seem to be expanding their black edition line, so maybe Faber-Castell are coming out with some neons there. But yeah, I've got I don't tend to use neons that much anyway, but I've got my Lyra art pen neons if I need them. But just some really nice colors. That whole section right in there. Love those greens. And some nice browns. That raw sienna is a beautiful color. I like these reds in here too. These earthy, like burnt ochre, Mars red, Venetian red, Pompeian red, Indian red, burnt carmine, like that. I love those reds in there as well. Deep turquoise down here, cobalt blue greenish. Love those colors. That's smalt blue. That's the same as sky blue, or similar, because it's 46, and 146 in Faber-Castell is sky blue. So some really nice grays, colds and warms. So yeah, now I don't think you can buy these as an 80 set, which is the unfortunate part. You kind of have to buy them in smaller sets, and I think they come in sets of like 12 and 24, and there's a different set of 12, and if I remember rightly, there is some overlap, which is why I have doubles of some of these. You can also buy these open stock. I can't think of where. Markersupply.com, maybe? Maybe you can buy them open stock there. They're not available open stock everywhere. Maybe Blick. But yeah, you can buy these open stock as well. So, you know, grab a few and try if you want. But I think they're good markers. I do. Along that same line, so sort of water-based, dye-based markers, I also have in this same snazzy case. So we had the Lyra Aqua Brush Duo markers. Very similar, I have actually I'm going to come back to those. The Faber-Castell Gold Faber markers. So their Gold Faber line, I would say their black edition is, now they do have a student line as well. Not of necessarily of markers, because they have those connector markers, and I mean there's all kinds of stuff out there that I just simply don't have, but their Gold Faber is like their step down from their professional line. And then Black Edition, I think, is maybe a step down further from Gold Faber. I could be wrong on that, but that's kind of how it strikes me. Because a lot of their Black Edition stuff doesn't seem to have any kind of color names or numbers or anything on the products, whereas their Gold Faber line does. So we have these Gold Faber, again, dual-ended markers. You've got that fiber brush that's very similar, right? The Lyra markers. Although this one looks a little fatter and chunkier. I think the Lyra brush was a little... Well, here I still have... Yeah, a little bit of a difference there. You can see the Gold Faber, a little bit chunkier of a brush, and the Lyra brush was a little bit kind of pointier and narrower. I mean, it doesn't make a huge difference, I find, when I'm coloring, but you might. So you've got the brush, and then you've got almost like a bigger fine liner or a teeny tiny bullet on the other end. I believe there are 60 colors of these Gold Faber Aqua Dual markers. Take a look here. Pencil there. So yeah, we've got 60 colors. There are names and numbers on each pen. So the one that I just had pulled out there was 112 leaf green. Now 112 is leaf green in the Pitt line as well, because here we've got a Pitt artist pen that's leaf green, 112. This, of course, is not light fast, whereas the Pitt pens are. This is dye-based ink. Those are pigment-based inks. But, I mean, these work, again, some paper here, very similarly to all the other water-based markers. Do I need all of these sets? Absolutely not. So, please don't think that you know, anyone needs this many sets of water-based markers. Now, there's the Lyra. There was the Faber-Castell. You know, I had those few gray Sakura Koi. I had these Marvy Le Plume that we looked at a while ago. I mean, they're all kind of, although those are harder brushes, I think. But not a lot of difference, you know, in terms of, I would say the ink is kind of probably the same amongst most of these. I don't see a whole lot of difference. I'll come back to those in a sec. The other ones that are in this case that again are, no, actually I'm still gonna wait. While we're talking about these, you know, the Lyra, and then we've got the Gold Faber Aqua, what they're probably all, you know, trying to be the same as is these. These, of course, are the Tombow markers. This is the newer case, so this is the 108 set. Top of the case comes off like that. Got some swatches in there, and then it does that on your desk. They do have a newer method of storing that's like a, well, kind of like the rack that I showed you at the beginning of the video. Not quite like that. It does look different, and it pulls out. It's like little, sort of like little drawers, but not little drawers, if that makes sense. But this works fine for me. I do actually store this on its side. I don't know if these need to be stored on their side or not. I tend to store basically all my markers on their sides, even the ones that are not dual-ended. Dual-ended markers, I always tend to store on their sides because then you get even ink flow between both tips. I guess if I had non-dual-ended markers like this, I wouldn't necessarily need to store them on their sides. I just do anyway. But, you know, the Tombow, again, have, you know, that brush nib and then a bullet. So we've got the Tombow, you know, we've got the Lyra, we've got the Gold Faber Aqua, Faber-Castell. There's not a lot of difference, to me anyway, in terms of the inks that are in here. The colors are slightly different, true. All of them have a fiber brush nib, so it's going to fray eventually. slight differences, I guess, on the other end. You know, the Lyra had a bullet. The Tombow has a bullet. The Faber-Castell have, it's sort of like a bullet. It's slightly different, though. Ink consistency, I don't see a lot of difference. I don't feel a lot of difference. Oh, there's the Gold Faber. There's the Tombow. I didn't actually mean to pick colors that were that similar, but I did. I don't feel a whole lot of difference. In terms of brushes, the Tombow and the Lyra actually remind me more of one another, right? In terms of sort of brush size, whereas the Gold Faber had that kind of chubbier nib. I don't feel a lot of difference. I do feel a difference. It could be just because I've used one or more of these more than the other, though. To me, the Tombow feels a bit stiffer, but I know I've used this Lyra Yellow Staedtler Graphic quite a bit. This Chromium Green Opaque also used a fair amount. Although I do find that the Gold Faber nibs seem to break down quicker than either the Tombow or the Lyra. Just my own observations. But yeah, so they're all water-based, they're all dye-based, they all have a brush, and then some kind of little bullety kind of nib on the other end. Do you need all of these? Absolutely not. If I had to pick a favorite out of these type of markers, I think it would still be the Lyra. I just like the color. I know it's a smaller color selection than the Tombow, because the Tombow has, 108 colors, and the Lyra only has 80. I just like the colors in the Lyra selection better. If we look at these are the Tombow colors. I find there's a lot of colors in the Tombow color range. Again, they're not colors that I would use. That's not to say other people wouldn't use them. So we have a lot of pinks and reds. I don't tend to use pinks and reds, right? I'm more landscape kind of colors and muted colors. So, you know, there's a ton of really hot pinks in here that I just would never ever use. Do I have them all? Yes. And by the way, is there a really light, because probably earlier when I was talking about trying to find a really light pink marker, maybe, you know, a number of you were yelling at your screen, there's one in the Tombow, which there is. But when you put it down beside the pink that I was trying to match, it actually is peachy. So I know there was one in here, but it didn't work either. So there's your Tombow colors. There's my Lyra colors. Very few, right? You know, pinks and reds in here. But I love the greens in here more. There's a few nice greens in here, like the 126, the 158. But this, well, the 192 is okay, but a lot of these greens in here I just would not use. Whereas those are my greens. So yeah, if I had to choose, I think I would still choose the Lyra Aqua Duo pens. Is that what they're called? I keep forgetting. Aqua Brush Duo pens. That would still be my pick if I was going to pick one of these, you know, I would pick the Pitt pens over any of these, but, you know, this type of pen where you've got the dye-based ink and you've got, you know, the dual-ended, I would go with the Lyra. But the Tombow are nice too. Gold Faber, meh, they're okay. Now I have completely lost the plot. Trying to figure out what cards go with what set. But yeah, these are the Tombow markers. Oops. So there's your 108. The colorless blender is supposed to go there, but I have it somewhere else because I use it for other things too. I put the little round number stickers on the top so I can quickly see the color numbers if they're sitting on their side, right? I know they have colored caps as well, but particularly for markers, you know, I keep using this Lyra one. That's that. Actually, on screen, it looks closer than it does in real life. In real life, under the lights that I have on right now, these do not look the same. But, so yeah, the plastic coloring on markers, on the caps and what have you, you can't really go by that to choose your colors. So swatches are always good. And once you have swatches, then if you have, you know, a way of identifying the numbers, if you're looking at your swatch, you can, you know right away that you're pulling the pen that you want. Not to say that you can't know that. I mean, Tombow's, sorry, kind of went through those quick. You would also know what pen you were pulling once you pulled it, because you would pull it out. Tombow's don't have a color name, they just have a number. They do have a name on the swatch chart, which I can show you in my book here. So this is a swatch chart that I got, I think, from Tombow itself. So 107 colors plus colorless blender. So this is number 158. So this is dark olive. So there are color names to go with the markers. They're just not on the markers. But the color number, you can see right there, is on the marker. The Lyra pens, not to keep harping on the Lyra pens, but they actually do have the number. It'll say art number and have a whole bunch of other numbers, and then the last two numbers there, you can see that or not, it says 70, so that's the color number. And then Staedtler Pigment, yellow Staedtler Pigment, so it has it in, is it German? Yeah, German and English, because this one is 68, chrome green. Sorry, there's a glare. And then in German. The gold Faber markers also have the color name and number. Tombow just has the number. Tombow does have this fancy case, which the others do not. I suppose I could take my Tombows out of here and put something else in here if I wanted. Put the Tombows, I don't know. It's just, it is a handy case. There is one other set of markers in here that I said I was going to keep coming, that I was going to look at it and this, nope, I'm going to come back to it. It's also water-based. It's pigment-based, or sorry, dye-based, but the nibs are different. Virtually every nib that we've looked at so far has been that fiber kind of nib, right? The Tombow kind of nib. It's the same, you know, I kept harping on these Lyra pens, but it still is a fiber nib. It will eventually soften and fray. Even my beloved Pitt pens, right? It's a different looking nib, but it's still a fiber nib. It will soften and fray. This nib is flippable, reversible. I don't believe these are. Have I ever? Yeah, I think I tried. The Lyra are not. The Tombow are not. I don't think the gold Faber are for the Faber-Castell. I don't think these are flippable either. So the Pitt pen ones are. The Staedtler Pigment Brush Pens, you can flip the nibs. But they're all fiber nibs, right? There is a water-based, dye-based marker pen that has, I don't know, I always assumed it was like foam rubber, but maybe it's not. I'm going to call it foam rubber. I could be wrong. It could just be a pressed kind of something else, but it feels like a Copic nib. So it feels like that kind of foam rubbery nib that isn't going to fray. And it's these ones here. So these are the Kuretake Zig Art Graphic Twin markers. Specifically the ones with a brush end and a fine end. And the brush end looks like the other brushes. But if you could see it in person, and I don't know how well the camera is going to get this, can you see it almost looks shiny? Can you see that? it almost has a shiny look to it, whereas you can see this looks kind of fuzzy and furry. This is a fiber tip. This was the gold Faber. Even the Lyra. It's got like a fuzzy, well, that kind of looks shiny too. I don't know. Maybe I can't get the camera to pick it up. But this is a different nib. This is, and you can hear it. Sorry for those that hate that noise, but you can hear it. This is a rubber, that's what it feels like, a foam rubber nib. Whereas, that's not the same noise, right? The Lyra, that's not the same noise. It's squeaky. So this is the Zig Art Graphic Twin water-based dye ink marker. So it's made by Kuretake, because they're the company that make a Zig. These pens have color numbers and names on them. Weirdly, so if you look at the barcode here on the pen, there's like a number in a square. You'd think that would be the color number. It's not, because it's 250 on every single one of these pens. The color number, it says TUT 80 and then 002. That 002, if you can see it there without the glare, that's the color number. And then it says red. With this nib, you can even see the ink goes down differently. It goes down, I think, less streaky sometimes, depending on the paper you're using it on. So take a look here. So it sort of starts right there, because these are still the Lyra pens. They've got, I never use the fine end. I mean, we can take a look at one of them if you want. So there's some more colors. More colors. More colors. And then they go up to there. Now, I actually have some colors missing from the case, because colors that I would use a lot of, I put in that rack that's off to my left. So, what have I got in here? Some more earthy greens, because I use those all the time. We do have the black off to my left. This is the black that I talk about all the time that I use in backgrounds. Because particularly on like Hannah Carlson paper, that better paper, I can put down a black background with this Zig Art Graphic Twin pen that's nice, and this is actually starting to dry out a bit, as opposed to, let's say, here's the black from the gold Faber. I don't know how much difference you can see on camera. This is, it looks all speckly to me, like some of these greens. This is just cheap copy paper, but the water-based ink looks all speckly, right? These, the ink doesn't look speckly. I don't know why. I don't know what the difference is. I don't know if it's the nibs. I don't know. But, oh, see, that green looks speckly. The red didn't look speckly. Maybe it's just maybe it's just me. Yeah, I don't know. Now that looks speckly too. But the nibs won't fray because they are that rubbery. So we've got mid green, olive green there. There's a black. I think. How many colors are there? 108? There's 108 Tombow, well, 107 plus the colorless blender Tombows. 80. Sorry, was wrong. So there are 80 colors in the Zig Art Graphic Twin brush pens. I still would go with the Lyra. Only because, again, this has a strange color excuse me, palette to me. They've got a few sort of olivey greens in here, a lot of pinks and reds, and they're very, whoa, colors.
Like they're just very bright and vibrant. And if that's your jam, awesome. But it's kind of not. They have a lovely selection of grays, though. They're pretty lacking on browns. I mean, there's a couple browns in here. I wish they had more olivey greens. Some really lovely grays. Some nice blues. But this, yeah, I wouldn't do much with that section. It's just not me. Oh, there's a Koi Secure pens, too. Here is the... Yeah, so this is, again, their color palette. But it is the one water-based marker pen that I have seen, I don't know of any others, that have that rubbery nib. I just have never seen that on any other water-based markers. So that's something different. I always like different. I have a few of these in the real brush nib. So if you are looking for Zig Art Graphic Twin and you want this kind, it's a black barrel. Right? Even the colored ones have a black barrel, and they're just called Zig Art Graphic Twin, and it says brush and fine. These are newer. It's the same ink and the same colors, but they say Zig Art Graphic Twin RB plus F. So real brush and fine. The fine tips are the same, but instead of that rubbery nib, these have, can you see that? How it just spreads out. So this is bristles. So this is like a tiny little paintbrush. Don't get that squeaky. This is a pretty color. This is, what is it, 302 Haze Blue. So 302 Haze Blue. And I put on it, I have a brush. It does come in the regular Zig pens too. But you can buy all of these open stock. So just if you were looking, not that, I think the ink is the same, but if you were looking for that foam rubber nib, you want to get the one with the black barrel. This has kind of a gray barrel, and it has clear caps, whereas the regular ones have a black barrel and a colored cap on one end. But there's both Zig Art and Graphic Twin. It's just the newer ones say RB and F, real brush and fine. All right. I also have, while we're on the topic of Zig Art and Graphic, the very back here, a few of their, and I'm going to say this wrong, so I apologize ahead of time, Fudibiori? I'm not sure if that's how you say it. This is still water-based dye ink. It's a fiber nib, again, so it's not a foam rubber nib. The brush is much harder. You could still use these for coloring, but I think they're more meant for lettering. Not that I can do lettering, but I just got a few just because I was curious. I just wanted to see if they color matched. So this is 43 olive green. Olive green? Yeah. This says 57 olive green. So the name matches, but the number doesn't. But these are Kuretake as well. Zig Kuretake. Brush, water-based. I don't know that I would get these. Again, I don't see any benefit in getting, these Fudibiori pens over, say, the Lyra pens. It's all water-based, dye-based inks. The Lyra pens have a better color selection. They've got the dual-ended. These Fudibiori is just a single end. I just wanted a few of them open stock because I was just curious. So, yeah, those are also a Zig product. I think we covered everything that's in this case. These go... like I say, I think I've been doing this a long time now. How long we're? It's probably close to an hour. Okay, those are the Zig. And then these are the Lyra. There we go. I'll get rid of this shiny, shiny case. What else do I have to show you? Don't worry, we're not done yet. Oh, well, speaking of real brush pens, let's take a look at those. Because again, this is also Zig. I showed you at the beginning of the video, right? I have the full set of Zig Clean Color real brush pens. So once again, these have bristles, right? So I'm doing that because I'm trying to show you, like when you push down, it spreads like a little paintbrush. It's still water-based, dye-based ink. These have color names and numbers on them. They don't all match up with the color names and numbers on the other Zig pens. These ones. And I figured that out, I think in a video where I was talking about the dot markers, because I thought they matched up, but they do not. And so this says 043 olive green, but the olive green in these is not 043, it's 057. So does the color? Yeah, it's not even the same color. Wait, did I have the... Oh yeah, it is. So there you go. Olive green, same name, two different numbers though. This is 057, this is 043. I don't know why. So there's some color matching amongst the Zig products, but not like Faber Castell where it was consistent all the way across. I love these to color with. You know, when I was talking before about coloring with these and how easy they are on my hands. These are so easy on your hands. So easy. Because they're little, you can't scrub, right? Because they're brushes. So you're holding the way back here, so you're not gonna have a death grip down at the bottom like you would with, I have a death grip on pencils, which is probably part of my problem. I mean, they just go on beautifully. You won't be able to blend on this paper. This is just copy paper. But, you know, if you have nice smooth paper, if you put fixative on your paper, I've been spraying a lot of my coloring book pages with Krylon workable fixative first, and then, you know, doing these or like the Pitt pens on top. Oh, beautiful blending on the page. Beautiful blending on the page. So I know these aren't cheap, but they're truly, truly lovely. There's the 180 colors. You can buy these open stock. You can buy them in sets. If you want a starter set, there are different sets you can get. I would try and see if you can get open stock, because then you can choose, you know, say a handful, 6 colors that you might want to. They make 6 color sets too. I mean, it just depends on what you want. For those of you that love really muted, grayed out colors, they have a 30 set that's called, I think it's just called Set A. Beautiful, beautiful set of colors. I don't remember exactly which colors are in there, but I do know it's a gorgeous, grayed out kind of palette of colors. And they, fluorescence. Okay, remember I was saying before that there wasn't very many water-based pens that had fluorescence? This set does. So it's got a fluorescent orange. It's got a fluorescent yellow. Is there fluorescent pink? Yeah, fluorescent pink. Green. I think there's 6 of them. No, I lied. 4. That's it. Yellow, orange, pink, and green. I love coloring with them, particularly, like I say, on pages where I've sprayed workable fixative first and let it dry. Oh, they blend like a dream on the page, and you get these beautiful watercolory effects. If I was to go and take these and color directly onto, say, an Amazon printed coloring book without spraying the page or preparing it first, yeah, they're going to be streaky as all heck. You're not going to be able to get them to blend on the page. They just won't. Maybe Amazon Japan paper, but certainly not Amazon printed books like from Canada or the US, or even the UK, it's not going to blend. They're going to look streaky. So to get that beautiful watercolor effect, you have to have better paper, or you have to spray your page first, or put some kind of, whether it be watercolor ground, you could put that on there too and just paint it on. That's got a bit of a texture to it. I like the workable fixative because it doesn't put any texture on the page. I'm not looking for texture, so. But yeah, so those are the Zig Clean Color Real Brush Pens. Some colors I wouldn't use. I'm not going to use fluorescent pink for anything, but it's fun to have. They have a beautiful, beautiful, and this color chart came from Kuretake. I actually downloaded it from them, and they provided, you fill it out. It's a strange, I don't know why they have the colors organized the way they do. It doesn't make any sense to me going this way. It doesn't make any sense to me going this way. It sort of does, but then they'll throw like, I don't really know. It's not even in numerical order, because it looks like it should be, right? Because it'll go, it's going 40, 41, 42, 43. Like there's some greens and then a turquoise green, and then we've got olive, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 400, 401. And yet, is there a 50? Maybe there isn't a 50. I don't know. Yeah. So there's sort of kind of a numerical thing going, but not, it's very strange. I really should do my own, put it in my own color order and then redo this. Because actually up on my shelf, where am I? Or up on those trays that I showed you, I did put them into my own color order. And then swatch them. So this is the color order I put them into, which makes more sense to me, but I should really have a page in my swatch book that has that color order, but I would have to make one myself. That's okay. But those are the Zig Real Brush Clean Color pens. Just to finish out, since we're talking about Zig anyway, I did recently get some of the dot markers. So you can get the clean color dot markers, singles, and they just have that great big dot end on them. I mean, I think they're meant for journaling, right? So you can make just really nice dots. Either if you don't push as hard, you can make tiny dots. Push a little harder, you can get medium dots. Push, fairly hard, you can get a big dot. They're just fun. So I got a 12 set of the singles. You can get other sets. I'm not sure how many colors there are total, but I just got the muted or smoky. Is that what it is? No, I got 2 sets of 6, I think, not a 12 set. The smoky set and then maybe the pastel set. But I really love these smoky kind of colors. There's pale turquoise, wisteria. It's these 12 up here. These are also Zig. Again, the color names and numbers don't necessarily match between these and the other Zig products. It's very strange. They also make clean color dot double-ended pens where you've got a dot end on one side and it's like a plastic nibbed kind of fine liner on the other side. 2 of them here. Candy pink, hyacinth, and that's those colors there. So there's 12 of them. So there's the single colors that I have up there. And then those 12, it's the double-ended ones. And then to round out the Zig, I do have 6 brushables. There's 24 total, I think, but I only have 6. So I have those 6 colors there. Again, I bought these so long ago. I lied. These do say pigment ink. Interesting. They don't blend as well on paper, though, as the Pitt pens. But apparently these are pigment ink. They're still water-based, but they're pigment. These are all... It says water-based pigment, but I don't think these are pigment ink. I think these are dye-based. These specifically say archival quality, acid-free pigment ink. These just say water-based pigment. I still don't think they're pigment. These might be. This one is powder blue. And these brushables have two colors in one pen that are slightly different than one another. So one end is slightly darker, one end is slightly lighter. This is called Cool Cucumber. Not a huge difference between the two, but it is a nice effect, right? To have that, just a little difference in the color between the two. Like I say, 24 colors total. I only have 6. Will I get the other 18? I don't know. They were kind of brighter colors that I don't use as much. You know, these are more muted colors that I would use a little bit more. It's certainly not a full color palette there. I mean, you've got a yellow, kind of a peachy, browny, cinnamon color, pink, kind of a purple, blue and a green. But they just were fun, right? So there we go. Zig. I have a fair amount of Zig products too, don't I? Fair amount of Faber-Castell, fair amount of Zig. They're excellent, excellent quality products. I'm putting things back. I don't even know what I'm doing here. I've got stuff. It's going to take me forever to clean up after this. I think I put, yeah, so there's some dot pens here. So the Zig do have color names, not necessarily always on the pen, or do they? No, I think it's on the pen. Yeah, like this is 805 Wisteria. There. These metallic ones down here, that's different. And I wasn't sure if I should be including this kind of thing or not. Or if this... To me, these are metallic dot pens and they show up on black. So to me, if something shows up on black, maybe it's still water-based, but it sort of puts it more in the acrylic kind of marker region to me. And I will do a separate video on my frightening collection of acrylic pens and markers. So I'm going to leave those. This was just sort of water-based markers that are translucent in nature. Translucent means light can pass through them. And so if I were to color any of these on, say, you know, a clear piece of plastic, you'd see the color, but you could also see light coming through. Whereas like those metallic ones, well, I did show you the metallic Faber-Castell ones, didn't I? Those wouldn't. But if I colored, like, say, metallic acrylic markers on a piece of clear plastic and then tried to see if light would go through it, they wouldn't, right? It would block light. So just sort of stuck to translucent markers in this video. So building then on from the Zig Real Brush pens, I do actually have 2 other sets of Real Brush pens. These were the first ones I got a couple years ago now. I don't even know if they still make these. These are Arteza, and they came in this case. This is going to be loud, sorry. So it is a Velcro case that also has clips. They're secure. This is also going to be loud. Just be prepared. And again on the other side. So it comes like this. I think you can Velcro these flaps out. Yeah, so it's Velcroed on here too. These are, well, they've got brush ends on them, like the Real Brush pens do, the Zig Clean Color Real Brush pens. So these also have Real Brush ends on them. It's a bigger brush. Here's the, you can see, compared to the Zig, quite a bit bigger. To me, I find that harder to control. I suppose if you were trying to cover a bigger area, the artisan ones would cover the area faster. But I find that big brush hard to control, particularly in small areas, because the bristles are longer, right? So, take a look here. What did I grab? Moss green. Now, these are older. Maybe they're drying up on me. I didn't use them a whole lot when I first got them, partly because I don't think I understood how to use them. See, to me, the ink comes out of these much better. It's consistent. There's a consistent ink flow. I mean, this is a, what do they call it? A legacy brand. Zig Kuretake has been around forever. You can buy these open stock. This is Arteza. Arteza is a inexpensive brand that's came out of China. It's probably white labeled. You can't buy these open stock, so if you run out of a color you like, then you're out of luck unless you want to buy the whole set again. And when I first got these, I didn't use them because, again, I didn't really understand what I had, and I hadn't figured out the trick of prepping the page first with, like, you know, the workable fixative or watercolor ground or something like that, so I couldn't really get them to do what I wanted them to do. In addition, the colors are, what was the term I used at the beginning that Annika had used? Axix Tombows? Chemically. So here's some swatches that I did, excuse me, on, actually this is on watercolor paper. And I tried to get them to blend out. And they didn't even really want to blend out on watercolor paper. They're just a very, there's not a lot of subtlety in the colors that are available. I mean, I guess you could get subtlety from the colors if you watered them down, but even so, I mean, yeah, I don't know. It just wasn't a color palette that I enjoyed. Put it that way. And then when I finally did figure out how to, you know, prepare pages and that sort of thing, these are just much better, nicer pens. And I don't know, maybe I'm an art supply snob. I apologize, but I like things where I can get open stock, right? Because if I run out of a color, I don't want to then have to say, well, okay, I'm going to have to use, you know, this color instead, and then be disappointed with my color choice. I guess I'm kind of fussy about color. But there are 96 colors total. So the case had some empty, I don't know if they just had a separate case or one type of case that they used for all of their pens and didn't have different size cases for different size sets. But there's the color palette. So yeah, it's very chemically looking. It's very, I mean, there's a few nice greens. The crocodile green, the olive green, pea green. I remember liking that one. Now I know, 96 colors versus 180 colors here. There's a lot of chemically looking colors in this set too, but because of the expanded color range, there's far more colors that I really love using. And maybe these just came out dry. I don't know. I just remember not enjoying using them. Should I give them to maybe my nieces and nephews? Maybe. Maybe they would have fun with them. Because yeah, I'm probably not ever going to go back to those now that I have these. But yeah, so those are the Arteza Real Brush pens. I'm pretty sure there are probably other budget brands out there doing this. Arteza just happened to be the one that, when I was looking, this was a number of years ago that I bought these. They were the ones that were kind of, Arteza was like the big thing in kind of budget art supplies at the time. And so those were the ones that I picked up. But yeah, Arteza Real Brush Pens. And I do have, I don't know how many. Oops. I knew there was going to be an avalanche. Sorry about that. Do you guys remember these? Color It used to have a couple art supplies. They had the gel pens, which I have, and I actually really love those. Did they have colored pencils? Maybe. I never had their colored pencils. But they had these real brush pens. And there was 24 colors, and that was it. But the really cool part about these were they had refills. That's something I really... These don't. These Zig Clean Color Real Brush Pens, they don't have refills, and I wish they did. So if you run out of one, at least they're open stock, right? You can just buy that one pen, but you have to throw the whole pen away. These had refills. I haven't seen the refills for sale in forever. There's like a handful of weird colors still available. And I picked up refills for, I would say about 6 of these colors back a couple of years ago. Colors that I thought I would run out of, like the greens. But I don't have refills for all of them. But there's still, so they have a color name and number. You say Color It, water brush pen. To refill them, you're going to unscrew that. I don't want to make a mess. Yeep. And then you would put your ink in there. But yeah, they have the brush nib again. And I found these to have a better flow than the Arteza. Kind of similar to the Zig. Only 24 colors though, so that was kind of a bummer. But like I say, they had some really lovely. Oh, this Proud Pale Green. I know I have a refill for that. I really should pull these out, and I should be using them with my Zig real brush. Because now, again, that I have that trick where I prep the page with workable fixative, I think these would be a lot of fun. There was like a raspberry color that was really fun. What was it? Witty Raspberry. Super bright. But it's just a really fun... I don't know that I would call that raspberry. To me, that looks more like watermelon. Or, you know, what they call watermelon color. But I think I have a refill for that, maybe. And then the gray, maybe. And then there's a black. I can show you, actually, with Color It. There they are. There was the gel pens. So they had a set of, like a mixed set that had some glitter, some metallic, and some fluorescent. And then they had a set of glitter. But there's the 12 colors of the Color It Real Brush Pens. I mean, for a 12 color set, I thought it was a pretty good color range. It's got some greens in here that I, would really love to use. Some oranges, a really nice red. Actually, that's C15. That was the Witty Raspberry, right? I guess it does tend to lean orangey, but some neutral kind of flesh tones there. I thought they were fun. Do they still sell this 24 set? I have no idea. They might, but I know you can't get the refills anymore. At least not that I've seen. And I don't know, I feel like Color It, is Color It going, I don't know if they're going out of business. They seem to be pumping out coloring books like a lot for a while, and then they just kind of stopped. So I don't know if they're just slowly winding down. I'm not really sure what's going on there. But yeah, the Color It Real Brush Pens. It was just a fun little case of 24. So I did like that one. Love my Zig. The Arteza, I wouldn't necessarily go that way, go that route. What else do I have around me here? Oh, two things, two sets left to show you. If I can find them here. Fine liners. I know this says tan mid, that's not what's in here. I have a full set of the Staedtler fine liners. So I believe the full set is 60 colors, I think. And then I bought this set. It was like a pastel set, but I'm pretty sure these colors are in... I don't think they're I think this ended up being like duplicate colors to where I think there's only 60 colors. Now, a lot of folks think that there are no color numbers on the Staedtler fine liners. There actually are, at least on the ones I have. The names I had to go on Staedtler's website to find, but there are numbers on their fine liners. They're really hard to locate those. So let's see if I can show you where they are. Let's pull one of these greens. So they're triangular shaped, silvery kind of barrel. They say Staedtler Triplus Finer Dry Safe. So you're looking, you're thinking, I see nothing. I see no names. I see no numbers. But, so here's, I know it's kind of a glare. So there's the side of the triangle of the barrel that's got the writing on it, right? Start turning that away from you. And on the next side of the triangular barrel, look down at the bottom here. I'm going to see if I can get the light to catch that. Can you see right there? It says F2, right above where my thumbnail is. And then right there, it says 057. It's not printed on. It's like it's been carved into the plastic. Can you see that? That's the color number, 057. Sorry, my thumbnail's kind of yellow. I got some ink on there earlier. 057 on Staedtler's website is olive green. So there are, believe it or not, color numbers on the fine liners. Not on the double-ended ones that we looked at earlier, right? The ones that had like the silver barrel and then there's caps on both ends and there's like a little triangular hard bullet nib and then like a smaller bullet nib on the other end. There's nothing on those. I have looked. But on their fine liners, there's a little carved number on the end of the barrel. If I look at, let's say I pull this one here, and some of them are easier to see than others. And it's really hard to show on camera because you have to kind of get the light to catch it just right. Can you see right there where it says 048? Right above my thumb? See right there? 048 is, find it on here, right there, Kalahari orange. So there are color numbers on here. So I do have the full set. I have 60. I like them. They're okay. They were the first fine liners that I had. And they actually do have some neons, which there's 6 of them. So if you want some neon water-based pens, I guess there's some more. This was another set. I think it was on sale somewhere. I was buying something else. But I'm pretty sure these are just, that says 305. Maybe these are new colors. Interesting. I thought these were just duplicate colors of what I had. Maybe they are new colors. Alright, so maybe there are 6 pastel colors here that... That is very strange. I thought they did. Oh no, see, that's 082. That's right there. I don't see 305 here, though. Maybe that's a new color. But the gray is not. I don't know. $5.05. I don't see that. All right. I stand corrected. 062. No, see, that's there. So those two there, I didn't find in the, you know, the other set here. 021, no, that's right there. So that's a duplicate. 430, nope, that's right there. So apparently it's just that blue and that green, these two here, that aren't in here. Who knew? Yeah. Are they a good set of fine liners? They are. This was a gel pen case, actually, because I love these Tan Mit gel pens, and this was a replacement case that I bought. So I just pulled all the gel pens out and used it for the fine liners, just because they fit really well. They don't tend to fit in pencil cases because they're just a little bit too big for the loops. But I had this gel pen case because I bought, you know, a replacement set of the Tan Mit gel pens. So put those in a baggie and put my fine liners in here. So those are the Staedtler fine liners. And like I say, they're fine. But if I had to choose a set of fine liners, I think I would go with these ones. Stabilo. I like the color range better, and I find they just, all fine liners are a bit finicky, right? They just, I mean, they're not meant to color large areas, but I find these are less finicky. So the Stabilo fine liners look like this. They don't have little, like the Staedtler ones had the cap with the little clip on it. These don't have a clip on the cap. All the barrels are orange. You just get colored caps and then little colored end bits. You get 6 neons again. In this case, and this is actually the last case that I have to show you. I know, I've been talking for a long time. My voice is starting to go. I have a combination in this case, and this actually is a pencil case, but the Stabilo pens fit in here perfectly because they don't have that clip on the cap, which tends to kind of force the pens apart. This is a combination of the fine liners, which are the ones with the orange barrels, the fine liners, they call them .88 pens. I don't know what the 88 is in reference to, but they call them their .88 pens. Then I have .68 pens, which have the colored barrels. Like you can see this one here has a yellow barrel, and it has a bullet tip. And also in here, I have the .68 brush, and those have a white barrel with colored stripes. It's got a little brush end. It's a softish brush. It's not as soft as some of the other brush pens we've looked at, but all of these are all water-based inks. And there's color matching. Now, the biggest color selection is their .88 fine liners. I believe there are 60. I'm up here in my... $65, pardon me. So there are 65 colors in the .88 fine liner pens. So that's those little squares there, colors. But in the .68 and the .68 brush, some of the colors exist. So you can see if there's a color swatch here, that means that, say, strawberry red is in the .88 fine liner, but also in the .68 bullet nib. Some of them, like yellow, I've got .88 fine liner, .68 bullet nib, and a B, which means I also have it in the brush. So you've got, and the ink matching across all 3 lines is pretty good. The pistachio color, which I love, comes in the fine liner, the 68 bullet nib, and the brush. Same thing with, I have the medium cold gray in all 3. I have the light pink in all 3, the rust red in all 3. Do I need them? No. I don't know if I have every bullet tip color. I'm pretty sure I have every color of the brush, the .68 brush nib, and I have every color of the fine liner, but I don't think I have every color of the bullet nib. It's not my favorite. I prefer either the fine liner or the brush. And I can show you here, say with, where's that pistachio color? 34. So here we've got the same ink in 3 different, push them up the other way. Same color ink, 3 different nibs. So we've got our fine liner nib, typical fine liner. I have the bullet. And the brush. So you can see it's the same color, it's the same ink in all 3. You've just got different nib types. But I really like these Stabilo. So you can see it says 0.88 on there. And then this says, sorry, not point. So this says 0.88. This says pen 68. Pardon me. And this says pen 68 brush. And it has a little picture of a brush. They don't have names on the pens. I think on the packaging it did, but I also got the names from, I think, the Stabilo website, or maybe it was just like Jackson's Art or someplace like that had a color chart. But on all the pens, it'll say, you know, art number 568. I don't know what that means, but the 34 that's right there, can you see it? That's the color number. I put it again down there just because this was hard to see. And I put a little swatch on a little colored circle and then put tape around them both. Just so, you know, when I pull them out right away, I can see what I've got. So on all 3 of these, if you can see, sorry without the glare there. So it says 34, 34, 34. So these are all the same color. 34 is pistachio. Again, it doesn't have color names on these, but it's got the numbers. And I just really, so I put the common colors together. These are sort of in color order. They're in color order here. I got this from Becky's DIY color charts on Etsy. But I put them in a slightly different order in my case. When I bought these, I had bought the first ones that I bought, it was, what was it called? Vintage or Nature? Something along that line. And it was basically kind of starting right here, these colors. Now, this is like multiples of like 23, 23, 85, 85, 25, 25. So I've got multiples, 47, 47, 47. There's multiples of each color in here. But there was like 15 of the fine liners in this package. And yeah, it was called Vintage or Nature colors or something like that. And they're the most beautiful colors. I love them. They're basically those colors there. I wanted to keep that set together because I just loved that color palette. So that's what I did in here. So starting right there, this is the colors of basically that set. I guess that's more than, that's 18, isn't it? Not 15. I think that's 18 colors. Whereas on my swatch chart here, these colors are all incorporated in there. But in the case, I kept those separate. And then the rest of the colors are kind of here. And then I've got the neons are there. I like the color palette better of the Stabilo ones. The color palette on the, here's the, oh, hold on one second. Sorry, I had to take a drink. So this is the Staedtler fine liners. I mean, there's certainly some similarities, right? You've got the neons in the Stabilo, you've got the neons in the Staedtler. You know, you've got your basic colors, but it was this color palette here, and I just don't know that some of these colors exist in the Staedtler ones. Some of them, I mean, you've got olive green there, and you've got your moss green there. They're pretty. They're close. This pistachio color does not exist in the Staedtler. That lime green, there's lime green here, but it's not quite as yellowy. I love that eucalyptus color in the Staedtler, or pardon me, the Stabilo. I don't think that's in the Staedtler anywhere. Delft blue in the Staedtler is okay. Yeah, that's actually the Delft blue here. That's the one color. The azure is nice in the Staedtler too. Colors that I don't have in the Stabilo. I love this blush color, that gray violet. So yeah, I mean, there's pros and cons to both, but I like these. I like the fact that you could also get the brush tips in particular that were the same colors as the fine liner colors. But yeah. And you can get these open stock. Now, you can also get the Staedtler open stock, I think. Some places you can't, I think. I could be wrong on that, but I think you can. But I know you can get these Stabilo ones open stock, which again, that appeals to me, right? Because there's colors like this, that's not lilac, but probably not a color I'm ever going to run out of. I just don't tend to use that. This 56 pink, probably another color, not a color I'll ever run out of. But I know I've already run out of pistachio and had to replace it. I think I ran out of eucalyptus and had to replace it. So the fact that I can replace those open stock, it appeals to me. Like I say, I think maybe Staedtler you can too. But I like the fact that the colors, you have those brush colors too. This is future editing Connie inserting this small clip. I knew I had forgotten something. In my defense, though, this is brand new and I just got this. In fact, again, like the Cure Rich highlighters, depending on when this video comes out, this may not even have been in a haul yet. But I never had any of the mild liner pens. And I was putting in an order and I wanted to try out the mild liner brush pens. So I got this 15 set, which includes the warm, the fluorescent, and the cool and refined colors. Now I think there are less mild liner brush colors than there are just mild liner colors. Is that correct? Because I think there's like 40 plus mild liner colors, and I think there's only 25 of the brush. So I got this set of 15. Looked like an interesting color range. Here it is swatched out. For those of you that have not seen, so these are the mild liner brush. So they do have a brush end like that. And then they have like a bullet. Now, I don't know if the mild liner pens also have that bullet or if they have a fine liner end. I don't know. I don't have any of them. Will I get them? I don't know. I mean, the inks were okay. Again, the fluorescents aren't going to be super helpful to me, but I do love this smoke blue. That blue-green is pretty. The green is pretty. The dark blue is okay. Yeah, I don't know. I guess there's 10 other colors in the brush line. Maybe I'll try some of the smoky colors in the regular line. I don't know. We'll see. But, yeah, those are also water-based, dye-based inks. And I had forgotten to put those in the video. I don't know where I'll insert this in the video. Maybe at the end. We'll see. But these are made by Zebra. They are the mild liner. And, yeah, you can easily get them on Amazon. So, yeah, forgot those. So we'll stick those in this little clip. So let's leave it at my favoriteest color palette there. I love that one. Just start. Well, those are just browns and grays and blacks. But yeah, love those colors. I think just looking, I think I managed to cover all of my water-based markers. I think I did. Like I say, I did not do the acrylic, any kind of markers that are not translucent, except for those few metallic Faber Castell ones, I guess. But I'll do that in another video. I hope you found something interesting about this video, even if it was just, I don't know, me yammering away to you while you cleaned or did some coloring or maybe did some work. I don't know. But hopefully you found something of value in the video. I am starting to lose my voice, so I'm going to have to call it. It's good that I'm done, because we're going to have to call it quits. If you like what you're seeing in my videos, consider, you know the drill. Liking, subscribing, hitting the notification bell, leaving a comment, telling a friend. I hope everyone is safe. I hope everyone is well. I hope everyone is enjoying their coloring. If there's any questions you have on any of these pens, feel free to ask in the comments. I can try and give links if you ask in the comments to things that are still available. Some of the, like I say, some of these aren't, but I will help in whatever way I can. Till next time, folks, take care. Bye-bye.